It is an odd day for us to do this. It's normally a Monday night show, but I was recovering from a busy weekend. On Sunday, I was in Wichita speaking to Wichita Oasis, wonderful group there. But the night before, I had been on a paranormal investigation. Now, I'm going to come back to that here in just a second. By the way, there is phone number is in the title and in the description box. There's also a web link if you want to dial in because I'm interested in shit you've seen or you think you've seen that was unexplained. And it's interesting because there are some atheists who believe in ghosts, like no gods, but spirits. And I'm not one of those people. I wasn't when I went on the ghost hunt, which is, they hate when I call it a ghost hunt. But I love this kind of thing. I love horror movies. In fact, in honor of the stream, I'm wearing my Fangoria t-shirt today. Because, in fact, I had a chance to interview Phil Nobile, rather, Jr., the editor-in-chief at Fangoria. There's a video of that. It's totally unrelated, but that's just my jam. Anyway, but right now, I am only able to stream this on YouTube. Facebook has blocked me from streaming for I don't know how long. And the reason is Facebook. So here's what happened. I posted a meme, or it was in my queue. I have a category queue of memes that go out all day, every day, and there must be 1,000 of them, right? I mean, I don't have time to monitor social media all the time. So I try to update news links, but I have a program that sort of shoots out a shotgun of other things, classic videos, older podcasts, memes, etc. And there's one that shows feet standing on the top of a cliff. And it's a riff on evolution is just a theory, which is one of the complaints that creationists have. Well, it's not proven, it's just a theory, meaning they don't understand what a scientific theory is. So the meme has feet on the edge of a cliff looking down, and it says, go ahead and jump. Gravity is just a theory. Now, in context, no one is wishing anybody harm, but it is exposing this word theory in the proper context. Facebook sees the meme and gives me a strike and says, content warning. Why has it been marked? I actually, it didn't even show me what it was. And it wouldn't let me pull up the image. You are not allowed to see the image that you posted, that we have posted a strike on. Jesus Christ, what the hell is it? So I'm fishing around. I don't even know how I finally stumbled across it. And it was a strike against me for encouraging people to commit suicide. And then it said, are you struggling with depression? Are you yourself suicidal? We have resources. Here's a hotline. No, I'm not encouraging people to kill themselves. I was trying to use an example to prove the absurdity of this. It's only a theory apologetic. So I appeal immediately. 60 seconds. It says, you have been reviewed by a human being, and this block is confirmed. You now have a strike on your account. Warning, if there are another few strikes, your account is at risk of deletion because you have encouraged people to kill themselves. Part of your penalty is that you cannot do this, including streaming live on Facebook. And it didn't even tell me how long. 30 days, 60 days, a year, 2 years, forever. I get it. You have to use algorithms. You have to use even AI, whatever, to try to manage. How many Facebook users are there on the planet? Like 4 billion of them or something. I understand the logistical challenges, but come on. Really? I'm encouraging people to commit suicide. Therefore, I am in violation of their code of conduct and their policies, and I am penalized. Therefore, I cannot stream. I'm just bitching. Speaking of bitching, a lot of people have watched the recent video of Jordan Peterson. I talked to David McAfee, who was in the room with the Peterson versus 20 Atheists debate, and how horribly he did. Some people watched the whole thing and had comment on it, the whole piece, the whole conversation that David and I had. And other people were like, I lasted 10 minutes. I couldn't take it. I cannot take the man. A few people were like, oh, he mopped the floor with those atheists. You guys are simply trying to villainize. You're misrepresenting the things he was trying to say. What a wise man. What a great thinker. Well, just for you, there is a website. It is called thewisdomofpeterson.com. It is, and I'm going to share this screen. It is a word salad generator. It's like a random phrase generator that sound with stuff that sounds like Jordan Peterson. And I have been most amused. I think I shared this maybe last year or the year before. I come back to this site occasionally. So it just generates random stuff. Here's one. The dominance hierarchy creates species-specific chaos. Clicking more wisdom. Embodying the logos is a foundation of a jumble of photons. Refresh. Greatness is beyond unparalleled dominance hierarchy. I could do this all day. Yes, there is one for Deepak Chopra as well, the Wisdom of Chopra website. Refresh. The traditional archetype comprehends humble dominance hierarchy. The Pinocchio archetype depends on deep belonging. Just a couple more, because I'm amused. The Pinocchio archetype is an ingredient of visible life, roughly speaking. This sounds just like Jordan Peterson. Experiential truth shapes mortal knowledge. He's so wise. He's so deep. It's awesome. It's awesome. The man is embraced as a great thinker. The Christian who refuses to admit he is a Christian. The guy who invokes the Bible and says that the Old Testament condemns slavery because Moses rescued the enslaved Israelites. A few chapters later, what do we have? God instructing masters how to own slaves. I swear. Been watching this story out of Ukraine. Holy shit. You and I are embarking on, I'm just babbling here while I wait for callers to populate with their own stories of weird encounters and sightings, or maybe stuff that you saw and then debunked. I'm interested in those things. I really want to talk to you today. You and I are now on the precipice of a whole new type of warfare. Did you read about Zelensky and Ukraine? They took these semi-trucks that were shielded so that they couldn't be scanned from the outside. And they just, I guess it'd been a year planning. They drove these things all around Russia. They parked them. I guess they left them on the order of days. Inside were fully charged drones with I guess they could reach a radius of maybe a mile or a mile and a half. They were parked near hard targets, strategic targets, including airfields. All of a sudden, the trucks open up, the drones go everywhere. The drones are carrying bombs, and Zelensky fucks Putin up. I don't know how much of their military was destroyed, how many of their planes, including planes that are no longer in production, which means they cannot be replaced. I mean, it's bizarre and wild and clever and kind of awesome, but it's also a bit terrifying because we know now that this is the beginning of a new type of warfare where the tiniest, almost the tiniest of drones now can sneak in through the slats into your attic to surveil or harm. And then what countermeasures are put in place for that? any rogue agent anywhere. It can be used to help fight terror and harm and oppression. It can be used to perpetrate terror, harm, and oppression. And then what does that look like with drones? What, just crossing each other in the sky? And I'd say, well, you just want to say inside. That doesn't help because we can be surveilled indoors. We can be found indoors. We can be bombed indoors. But I will say I was high-fiving some people when I saw this reciprocal attack. I mean, the idea that Putin got kicked in the balls is awesome. Fuck that guy. And I look at I spoke about this at Wichita Oasis. Like, there are people all around him that know he's out of control. Like, why is he still in power? And this is true for all authoritarians, I think. There are people, and there have been resistance movements. But really? Like, most of the Russian people, even those who say they support Putin's assault on Ukraine, admit they don't know what his goals are. What's he trying to accomplish? I do not know. Someone explain this. So yeah, and Putin is such an arrogant prick. It's sweet ambrosia. It is sweet nectar. Props to Zelensky. Just props to that guy. All right. Hashtag I stand with Ukraine. Wow. Also on the military front, I'm just going to read this to you. I'm kind of in a mood today before we talk about go. I'm kind of in a mood, so I'm sorry. You ever have those days you just... Check this out. And this is a well-informed audience, so I'm sure you're probably all over this already. Military.com is one of many outlets covering this story. Pete Hegseth orders the Navy to strip the name of gay rights icon Harvey Milk from ship. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth has ordered the Navy to take the rare step of renaming a ship, one that bears the name of a gay rights icon, documents and sources show. Military.com reviewed a memorandum from the Office of the Secretary of the Navy, the official who holds the power to name Navy ships, that showed the Sea Service had come up with rollout plans for the renaming of the oiler ship USNS Harvey Milk. The official also said the timing of the announcement, occurring during Pride Month, was intentional. The memo reviewed by military.com noted that the renaming was being done so that there is, quote, alignment with President and SecDef objectives and SecNav priorities of reestablishing the warrior culture. Dun, dun, dun. Every day. Just a brand new example of awful. Every day you wake up and go, I'm telling you, this No Kings protest that's coming up a week from Saturday, I think it's going to be, people are pissed. And I love the counter that we're seeing all across, whether it's among human beings, in neighborhoods, in cities, by mayors, by governors, by corporations. I saw a major sports team. I can't remember which one it was. And they're throwing rainbow flags on everything and say, we love everybody, right? So they're doing a counter Trump. So and the No Kings protest, which is going to be happening in places all around the world. I think, what is that Saturday? Is it the 14th? Let me look. Hold, please. Google Calendar is my memory. I don't have a memory anymore. It has to be Google Calendar. Saturday, the 15th, I believe. Well, you know what? NoKings.org. Let me pull this up and let you see the website. Share screen. No kings. Okay. No kings. In America, we don't do kings. They've defied our courts, deported Americans, disappeared people off the streets, attacked our civil rights, and slashed our services. The corruption has gone too far. No thrones, no crowns, no kings. On June 14th, we rise up. And then there's a map of locations all around the country. And I know other nations are going to have a No Kings Day as well. There are ways to spread the word. There are ways to maybe rally a protest if there's not one already in your city. People are pissed. I think it's going to be huge. Why are they doing it on a Friday? That doesn't make any sense to me. Did I get that right? Now I got to look again. Hang on. Calendar. Sorry, thanks for your patience. Saturday the 14th. I was looking at it incorrectly. Yes, Saturday. I think it's at noon. Gonna be huge. Huge. And I'll be there. I've got a sign with the Jefferson quote on it, but I'm thinking of making a fresh one for the new protest. I struggle because part of me wants to do one of the snarky signs. I mean, it has a message, but it also has a little bit of a razor's edge to it. But at the same time, I want people to drive by to find what I'm doing, not to look like an emotional response, even though there is some emotion involved because I'm pissed. But I want them to see something factual that diffuses any criticism that they might think they have. The Jefferson quote was an example of that, right? Where Jefferson was talking about how opposed he was to monarchies. I mean, how do these people protest the words of one of the founding fathers they say they love? And that was kind of a defense mechanism. But I've seen some great ones out there. I've seen some great signs out there. A lot of them lampooning Trump. I think one of my favorites, I mean, beyond the signs we saw April the 4th, but remember back when he went to Britain, this is back when the Queen was still alive, and they were floating those helium balloon Trump babies, the giant ones. I just love the Trump baby. Blimp. I just love the blimp. I think we need that here. And I believe some people during Trump's military parade in this country. And don't tell me it's about the military men and women. Don't tell me it's about the veteran. This is Trump masturbating. He's going to be out there like fucking Kim Jong-un with his hand in the air, probably giving a Nazi salute as he goes down the streets. And everybody's like, woo! But there are counter events that are going to be happening. I'll bet there are protests on site. Now, there is a concern that there's going to be violence, confrontation. One of the strategies by authoritarian regimes, and this is not just a conspiracy theory, but this does happen, is somebody who is part of the authoritarian regime stages a violent act. So they show up pretending to be one of the resistance, and then they do something horrible. Then the authoritarian regime can say, those people are lawless traitors. They are un-American. They are dangerous. They're emotional, out of control, blah, blah, blah. And that then justifies whatever reciprocal action takes place, usually involving weapons. So there is some concern that we're going to see escalation. And there are preemptive measures that are happening. People are being instructed. They're given guidelines. If this happens, if the police show up and try to arrest you, here's what you can say. Here's what your rights are. Sit down. Do not stand up. Do not do this gesture with your hand. Do not be provocative in this specific way, especially if there are cameras rolling. This can be misinterpreted or disinterpreted against you and against the cause. There are specific things they are saying that you can do to try to prevent a lot of this crazy stuff. We're going to be painted as the villains in the story anyway. Resistance is one of the few things that has given me joy. Everything else, I just think, the work that we do here is always gratifying. But this is part of a resistance movement, resistance against authoritarians, against high control culture, against superstition, against Project 2025, against the bigots. You know, it's one of the few things that I feel like is productive. One of the few doses of medicine I get. Do you feel that way? Did you see? I will talk about the ghosts. I will talk about the ghosts. And for those who are here for the title of the stream and feel like I bait and switched you, guilty. Sorry, I'm ranting. This is a tangent. It just has nothing to do with ghosts, and it's totally unplanned. I'm just going. Our standard for normal has become so distorted that a few days ago, the President of the United States shared a post claiming that Joe Biden had been executed in 2020 and replaced by a robot. Nobody blinks. I mean, you and I did. I mean, this is 25th Amendment territory. This is what the hell territory. This is the man that his cheese has slid off his cracker. The wheel is spinning. His hamster is dead. His elevator does not rise to the top floor. Something going on. And it's possible that maybe this was just done as a distraction. Maybe he's having fun tweaking the woke libs. Maybe, you know, he doesn't want us looking over here, so he distracts over here by saying the most outrageous shit. But regardless of what his motivation is, a sitting president just said he shared a post saying that Biden has been dead for 5 years and replaced with a robot, and nobody cares. What the fuck? God. How long has the guy been president? How many goddamn days has the guy been president? Not even 6 months. The midterms aren't until the fall of 2026. How much more damage is going to be done? Anyway. You and I are living in a culture where they want to just scrub names, the names of the people in our history. They want to ban our books. They've got the oligarchs. I mean, Elon's out of the White House. Yay, he's already had access to everybody's private information. He's grabbed it. He's probably absconded somewhere where he's going to unleash AI on it. And then what are we going to do? What did I come here to talk about? Ghosts. Yeah. Well, you know, I call this bubble gum for the brain. I got the phrase from my wife. And, you know, hang on. I got to talk about this. The one good thing about Elon leaving the White House, and I genuinely predicted that Elon and Trump, those two egos cannot exist in the same physical space very long at all, and it's going to explode. And the ego and jealousy and pettiness and childishness and sociopathy of these two billionaires, they cannot exist in the same space for long. Now, I thought it was going to blow up in February, which was optimistic. I didn't think they'd last a few months after the inauguration. So, okay, fine. It's early June, but it's happening. It's happening. And so now Elon he's upset about the big, beautiful bill, and he's going to start weaponizing X against Trump, who he spent hundreds of millions of dollars to help elect. And now everybody's going, hey, wait a minute. We thought Elon was our hero who was going to go in with Doge and save the day. And so we support him, but he's at war with Trump, who we support. And I don't know who are we supposed to. I guess we'll go with Trump, but Elon's got a lot more resources, so maybe his war against Trump is going to be. I don't know I'm here for this. I am so here for this war. Let the rattlesnakes turn on each other. I'm in. Pop the popcorn, baby. Leonard Leo, the dirty, rotten, filthy, stinking, rich billionaire who helped fuel this theocratic takeover of the government, is now filing a lawsuit against Donald Trump. So those two were on the outs. Oh, yeah. Yeah, let the billionaires go. Yeah, throw them in. It's Thunderdome. If we get lucky, they'll just kill each other. I mean, metaphorically speaking, financially, reputationally. They'll strip each other of all power, and they'll both end up, I don't know, living on a deserted island. I don't know. We need like an Escape from New York Island, except it's really small. We build the wall and we just toss the two in. And then we make sure they have food and water. And then we go off over here. I'm here. I'm here for that. Marjorie Taylor Greene votes for the big, beautiful bill. And then she comes forward yesterday and she's pissed because there's something in the bill that she doesn't like. I forget what it was. Wasn't it something about unfettered AI or something? Forgive me. I can't remember. And she's like, "Oh, I'm very angry that this is in the bill." You mean the bill that you voted for? That bill? The one you voted for. So now everybody's like, maybe you should read the legislation that you are voting for. It's awesome. It's awesome. I'm here for it. I'm here for it, right? Let them chew each other and spit each other out. You and I can sit back here in the bleachers and sip whatever beverage sounds good at the time and just watch it. Watch it go down. But an antidote to a lot of the despair, hopelessness, and helplessness is finding moments of distraction, which is why I was going to do this live stream in the first place, which is now almost a half an hour old, and I haven't hardly talked at all about it. So fine. Here's what happened. And I shot a ton of video. I took 3 cameras. It was hard work. Like, you see these Ghost Adventures crews and they go in. They got a whole production crew. They got, I don't know how many cameramen. They got a sound guy. They got all these other people. They've got grips that can move gear. And one guy, I drive to Coffeyville, Kansas, because I had been invited to join a paranormal investigation troupe from Oklahoma. And they go around and they take their tools. And so I was invited to join along by a fellow skeptic named Brandon Brissaw, and he does a lot of these types of things. He's a skeptic. He hasn't ever seen any ghosts, but he's curious and he finds it interesting. So he said, "Would you like to join me?" "Okay, great, I'm in." And I said, "Do they know who I am? Do they know what they are getting into?" He's like, "They're totally cool." I'm like, "Well, I guarantee you this. If I go, I'm not going to be a jerk. I'm going to go with respect. I'm going to have an open mind, right? Not so open that my brain falls out, but I'm going to have an open mind, and I'm going to be there as someone who genuinely enjoys ghost genre. I enjoy ghost stuff as fiction. I tell ghost stories every October. I have produced 2 ghost stories audiobooks available now at audible.com. So I'm in. So I show up. I get there about 4 o'clock in the afternoon. I shoot some exteriors. Beautiful mansion with a long and interesting history, which is really what I enjoyed the most about the. You know, it's an amazing structure. This historical building, which I believe was finished in the early 1900s, and there's a family that. The story is kind of a tragic one, including the loss of many children. But the idea is that there are hauntings that have taken place inside the Brown Mansion, Coffeyville, Kansas. So once the paranormal troupe got there, we all had dinner and we kind of got to know each other. And I think I tried to assure them, I am not going to ruin your day. Mostly, I'm going to kind of do my thing, but I am interested in what you are doing. Then they went to the place. We got the tour and they pulled out their paranormal investigation tools. Now, I'm a little bit like I had Kenny Biddle from Skeptical Inquirer on the podcast. Was it last year? Debunking the tools that were being used to detect ghosts. I was like, that's bullshit. That tool is bullshit. That's bullshit. Didn't say it. And it was interesting, but mostly it was interesting to watch how they were used, not the tools themselves, but this propensity for pattern seeking. So, there's a guy, I think he had a thermal camera. So he's walking around and I'm like, well, okay. Now, the truth is, if you see a hot spot or a cold spot, okay, welcome to the basement. Welcome to this part of a room where there may be a dread, like a hot spot or a cold spot. Is this proof of anything? If you see a humanoid shaped hot spot or a cold spot, and it's actually walking in a room where no one exists, I want to know that. I will give you that guarantee. I want to know that. Then they had, I don't know what this thing was, but it was Kenny knows it's like a bubble and it's got like a red light and an antenna on it. What the hell is that thing? But he's got one, and I think he's taking it apart, and he's like, this is bullshit. The EMF meter, electromagnetic field meter, and I should have brought it out of I actually bought one for like $10, and that's supposed to detect changes in the electromagnetic field, which apparently is ghosts if it's not things like a cell phone or electrical cord. And this was used, and it was fascinating. So we were all in a room and we were all seated, and they took one guy and they put headphones on him with like rock music, something that was really dense so he couldn't hear anything else in the room. And then he had a blindfold on. Somebody in the paranormal troupe took the EMF meter and they held it out in front. So they're really in the center of the room. And there was some, what looked like a light grid. It looked like that grid in the opening credits of The Black Hole, the movie The Black Hole from the 1980s. It was, which I guess detects motion. Oh, maybe they were dots. They were dots. So you should be able to see like a warping of the dots if there was a spirit in the room. And I'm just sitting in this metal folding chair watching in rapt attention. So they have the guy, sensory headphones. He has the blindfold on, and the instruction is speak out whatever word pops into your mind. And we're going to use the EMF meter to see if it moves. And maybe this has some sort of meaning. Maybe it is some communication from the spirit world. So he's there. I don't know, whatever's going on in his headphones. And then I forget what the words are, so I'll just make something up. He's just, he's sitting in the chair. And he's like, I don't know. Car. Animal. Purple. This was actually one of the words. Okay. Purple. And This is when it becomes interesting because we begin to see the propensity by people for pattern seeking. We see confirmation bias and a tremendous desire to believe. So the person holding the EMF meter is there. And when he said purple, the light went up to, I don't know, it was like green, shades of yellow, and then red. And it goes up midway, yellow. Wait a minute. Hang on. When you said purple, there was a marked ramping up of the EMF. You know, purple was my mother's favorite color, and she passed away 2 years ago. But she loved purple. She had purple this and purple that. I wonder, do you think the spirit is trying to tell me about my mother? And I'm sitting over here going, what the hell does this have to do with the Brown family and their mansion? It's the equivalent of somebody saying, I'm sensing a word that starts with M. Someone in your family. And of course, you and I are like scanning through. And if we have no one in our family that we can think of who has a name that starts with M, we can just go back to mom. It's mother. She's trying to speak to me through the spirit world. Wow. And he just barked out words and they would wait for some sort of a reaction. And I'm looking at this thing going, how many cell phones are in this room? Like, did that pick up? Hang on. I got to look this up. Does EMF meter detect cell phones? EMF meters. Measure the natural DC magnetic field of the Earth, which varies according to locale and proximity of ferromagnetic building material. What does that mean? I'm terrified of some of these websites. This one says skeptics. I'd put this up, but I don't want to give too much bandwidth to what might be a bogus website. Mobile phones are by definition devices that can detect EMF, since their ability to communicate depends on radio frequency fluctuations in EMF. Well, that seems a reversal, phones detecting EMF. Anyway, thank you, Robert. EMF meters are used to find wires in walls. And in fact, at one point, I think someone took one and put it up to a piece of Romex and it went off, or it went all the way to the red because there was electricity flowing through it. But what we see here is the propensity for pattern-seeking primates to begin to connect dots that normally really wouldn't be connected, right? We are looking for the face. We are looking for the feature. We are looking to anthropomorphize anything and everything that may be just a random inhuman occurrence. And I think that's one of the things I found most fascinating. The other tool they brought out, and they take this shit so seriously. They're lovely people, lovely people. When they brought out the spirit box, then I remember specifically the part of the interview with Kenny Biddle that I had. I should link that in the description box if I think of it so you can go back to it. Because he's got a whole office full of tools. And what he does is he takes this shit apart and he's like, well, here's what's in it, and here's what's in it, and here's what it does, and here's blah, blah. Okay. The spirit box is essentially, think of a radio that scans every frequency from bottom to top. So FM would be what, 88.8 or whatever, FM all the way up to 107 point whatever. And, you know, there are, 15, 20 radio stations that are staggered all the way up and down the radio dial. Well, what the spirit box does is it grabs maybe 1 second from each station before it locks into the next one, So you hear about a second from each working station, some quite staticky. But you will occasionally hear discernible words or parts of words. And again, the pattern-seeking brain activates. So it's like, And then words will all of a sudden appear. And you could hear anything. And then you begin to connect dots and say, it sounds like headstone. This means something. Who died in the house? Did they get a headstone? Where is the headstone? What's the significance of that location? Oh, wait, they were buried in an anonymous grave. They have no headstone. They always wanted a headstone. They were denied a headstone. Are they saying, I'm going to die and I will need a headstone? You can see, you can totally see it. So I'm sitting back here watching, trying not to be that guy, but being that guy quietly. And I make this guarantee, and I made this to the group, that if there is evidence of something that has previously been unexplained or wrongly explained, I want to know that. That's the fair approach. If the teapot lifts off the little shelf thingy and it levitates across the room and pours invisible tea into a cup that's been sitting in this place for 90 years and then goes back and sits on the shelf, I want to see that. I want to know that. And then I want to say, what is it? Why did it happen? What are the explanations? And is ghosts or dead grandma a reasonable explanation that we should pursue? Are these claims testable? And I find it frustrating that the whole claim is that these are phenomenon that do not exist in the natural, so therefore experiments won't work on them. It was even said, I think, at the paranormal investigation, that we are using tools that are not scientific. That's a remarkable statement. We are using tools that are not scientific. Well, if they're not scientific, why are we using them? And I told Brandon this on camera, if we are talking about the spirit world interacting in the physical realm, it's almost like the soul interacting with the physical brain to inform identity. This is still a scientific question. There is a point where the spiritual would connect with the physical in a way that could be verified and seen. I think it remains a scientific question. Now, I would do another ghost hunt. I don't know if I'd take all my gear. I was exhausted. I think we finished at 1 a.m. You can see, I shot video. I'm going to release a whole profile of it for a few reasons. One, I want to chronicle the history of the mansion because it's remarkable. It's an amazing place. I do want to get into the lore, the history of the family and the genesis of these particular haunted tales. I'm going to use production tools. I did a test on Facebook yesterday just for grins, but I took some of the most benign of footage. I shot an exterior. I had a shot of me from my car. I had the iPhone on the dash, and we're going up the road and around the corner, and I'm shooting through the trees. And if you watch the footage, you know what? I'm going to show you. Hang on. I don't know if you can hear the audio, though. I don't know if you can hear the audio. You know what? Let me try it, and then you tell me if you can hear the audio, okay? How do I make this big? Okay. Here's screen. Hold. Hang on. Facebook. Okay. You can probably see that. Let's see if you can hear it. Let me know in the comments. Should be just birds chirping right now. And my car alarm. Okay. Boring footage, right? And then I added a few tricks to it. Watch this. Isn't that fun? But it shows you can take the most vanilla generic footage and you can do awesome stuff with it in post. So whenever you see those ghost adventure shows and they take these guys, these guys have the collective cognitive ability of a lawn chair, and they're like they bring tools like this and they run into a mansion or a senate. I'd love to go into an abandoned prison or an old sanitarium. And they're like, "Hang on just a second. I just saw an orb in my camera lens. It must be the spirit of the proprietor who lived here. Or it's a speck of dust and you don't know how cameras work." Anyway, I'm gonna play it straight in the video, which I plan to release closer to Halloween. I think I'm gonna sit on it till late September, early October, so it kind of ties into Halloween. But I'm gonna do a legit profile of the mansion, my experience there. We're gonna go through the rooms and tell the stories. We're gonna get into some of the different types of ghosts that have been alleged. I think we're gonna talk about the tools that are often used. By paranormal investigators. I think I'm going to do kind of a wrap up, a summation as a skeptic, and then I think I'm going to produce. I don't know. I'm going to have fun with it. I think I'm just going to go into the production room and I'm going to do a whole thing just like what we saw. I'm going to distort the hell out of it. I'm going to shoot or produce Dutch angles and throw in audio and have music and screams and whispers and sound effects and, the eyes of the mother popping in and rushing down the hall because I shot some of this stuff. And I'm just going to I'm going to do a playground. And so that'll be kind of fun. So I'm going to be sort of pecking away at that project between now and end of September, early October. And some people will take the journey. Some people get mad at me whenever I do supernatural stuff. Why would an atheist spend any time talking about ghosts? What kind of skeptic are you? I'm a skeptic who enjoys fiction and stories and imagination. And I want to participate in examinations of extraordinary claims. I love Lord of the Rings. I do not believe in Gandalf. You know what I'm saying? You can always tell those people, these pedants that they troll around looking for reasons to sound snobby and superior. I can't believe Seth would participate in this kind of thing. I heard the same thing with Jordan Peters. I can't believe Seth would give oxygen. He's such a poor thinker. Define oxygen. There was some light. There's a shit ton of heat. It's not just oxygen. Hell, I'm not just platforming the guy to prop up his reputation. We actually propped him up so that he could self-immolate once again. Anyway, I stopped being in the pleasing everybody business a long time ago. I want to serve the community. But these people who just walk around and all they do is snipe from the cheap seats. I mean, I hate to be that way. No, I don't. No, I'm just tired of them. Cheetah says I'm terribly good at saying nothing. Hang on, let me put that on screen because I think that would be great on a business card. Yeah, I'll buy that. I am a master class in empty calorie dialogue. You're on to me. Okay. Was there anything else I wanted to talk about now that I'm 50 minutes into this? Man, talk about a tangent. Talk about a random tangent. And I do welcome your calls. I would love to speak to you. I don't care if it's about ghosts, it can be on any subject. Hopefully, my switchboard is working. Let me hit the talk button. Area code 254. Hi, can you hear me?
Yeah, I hear you.
Can everybody in the chat hear my caller? Hang on. Let me hang on just a
Yeah,
second for me. I want to
yeah.
make
No,
sure that
I'm
people.
asking them.
Let me make sure. Can everybody hear him? Because I've got one button
Hello,
that I
hello.
I can't remember if it needs to go down. Okay, everybody can hear you.
Yeah,
Oh, all
yeah,
right, lovely.
yeah, yeah.
All right, hit me.
Okay.
What's your first name, or what do you want to be called? What's on your mind?
Frank, it's Frank here. So ghosts. I used to live on a farm. It was a very old buildings on the property, and uh, never knew of any of these stories till after things happened. I was out by the 100 and something year old barn one day with my dogs, and I hear children, and the dogs hear children. Nobody's supposed to be out there. They run around the side of the barn. I go around there, and there's nobody there. Okay, just something blowing it across the field. I'm a skeptic, but I keep an open mind. There was a situation one day. I had a friend who was a skeptic, and he was dying. And I said, "Hey, if you get out there into the next level, try to find me. I keep an open mind." Well, that evening, one evening, shortly after he passed away, the dogs and I are sitting in the living room, and there were 7 dogs, and they all stand up, and they're looking in this direction, and they're looking at me for guidance. There's nothing on the other side of the room. One of them kind of growls, and they look at me. And so, I'm being a skeptic, but keeping an open mind, I just said, "Is that you, Alex?" And there's no response. And but they were seeing something that I wasn't seeing. They saw it. Their hair stood up, and it was not like in the direction of a door. It was in the direction of a wall. There's nothing in there that I can see. I've been around dogs all my life, and they see, hear, and sense things that humans don't, or they hear different than we do. So I don't know. I keep an open mind. I don't have enough evidence. We'll put it that way. But I think there was something there that uh, they saw that I didn't. I found out later that there were some children that died in that barn 100 years ago when part of it caught on fire. They were playing in the barn. So just weird stuff like that happened on the farm from time to time.
I
Yeah.
find that interesting. Dogs are an especially fascinating case when I've seen the movies because the dog always knows some shit's about to go down well before the family and the haunted house knows, right? The dog won't go in.
Sure.
The dog's cocking his head, going, "Oh, hell no, I ain't going in there." I do find those
Yeah.
stories interesting and I don't know, compelling may not be the word, but I do watch my animals very closely. They seem to know things, don't they?
Sure. Yeah, they do. When I had to move to the city, but I still have one of the dogs. And when I'm walking and I have my earbuds in, uh, I'm focused on the dog on the leash, because if the dog looks to the right, he's hearing and seeing things that I'm not seeing because I got my music going and what's inside my head. So I'll look to the right and see what it is. I mean, it's just they're very different than us as far as hearing and seeing and sensing things. They see things on a level of 3 feet and below. They see under cars that we don't see. They can hear better than us. They can smell better than us. And so I really pay attention. And they give unconditional love. Humans have so many conditions. When I
Isn't
get
that the truth?
conditional and start judging a little bit, I go, be the dog, be the dog.
Be the
Don't
dog,
judge, be the dog.
be the
Keep
dog.
moving, keep moving. So
But what
yeah,
but
be the
what
dog.
are the chances that the dog who is on a having sensory overload is just smelling the bacon that somebody is cooking 5 doors down? I mean, that's always a possibility. If
Yeah.
they stop and they freeze and they stare, it's maybe someone's fired
Hmm.
up the rotisserie. or
Sure.
something, right?
Or the female in heat that's a quarter mile away. If it's a male dog. Yeah, there's just all kinds of, when I call them the P-males when he comes up to a post. He's smelling all the P-males. That's how hey, I was here. I was there. I was there. It's the post office. It's the mailbox, the females.
P-males.
Hey, I was here. No, I own it now. And it's for me, I understand a little bit of the pack mentality. Well, pretty well, because I've been around dogs almost. And I'm the leader of the pack. So they're going to alert me and look at me for guidance. And so it's pretty well. All the dogs out there, I had a Jack Russell that was like always on. He would bark, which would wake up the Vizslas. The Vizslas would bark, which would wake up the Bull Terriers, and the Bull Terriers would set up the perimeter. You're not coming in.
Wow.
And it was just really wild to watch.
Well, you're all set for the zombie apocalypse. Sounds like you got some beasts of burden who are ready to protect the cave. They're out there doing sentry duty. I appreciate your call. It's an interesting story and something for us to talk about. Hang in there, okay?
Thank you. Bye-bye.
All right, we'll see you. I don't think I'm the alpha in my human-dog relationship. Natalie says I'm not. I kind of am. But it's like the way I walk Linus, or he walks me. Like you're supposed to take the leash. I'm digressing again. I've got another call coming in, and I will get to that. And the switchboard remains open, and we'll just go for as long as you want within reason. I think you're supposed to have them on your left if you're right-handed, or I don't know, right by your side, and they follow your lead. They don't run around at the end of the leash. And they obey your commands. You are the alpha. Well, that's not how I walk the dogs. I've got one of those little retractable things, So he's 10 feet in front of me. And he's sniffing, and he goes, oh, look, it's a male. Oh, look, it's a fire hydrant. Oh, here's a blade of grass that seems to have been territorialized. I guess I need to go and reassert my dominance. And then he goes over, oh, a light pole. Oh, looky, here's a random thing, a piece of trash. I will pee on everything. He will pee when he's empty. He will be empty for a half a block, and he will do another half a block and essentially pee nothing. He pees nothing, and yet he feels that he has marked his territory. But he decides which corner we go. I let him decide whether or not he wants to go north or south, around this block or that block, when he wants to be done. And Natalie's like, you are so not the alpha. But I kind of am. I kind of am. By the way, forgive me. Apparently the guy in the chat, or whoever it was, who said that I speak but say nothing was talking about me, was talking about Jordan Peterson, but I didn't see the context because the chat was moving so quickly. I'm almost disappointed. But yes, I agree. Jordan Peterson he speaks while saying nothing. But it's not the first time someone has said that about me, so maybe that's a sensitive nerve for me. Maybe I just, I'm just one man. I hear some people say I sound like a preacher. Some people don't like the fact that, how do I say this? I mean, 35 years in broadcasting in some way, I have a cadence about me that some people like and some people think sounds fake. They're like, he doesn't talk like that in real life, and he sounds like he's performing, and I find him irritating and blah, blah, blah. And so they go after me for style. They're not interested in what I'm saying. It's really more a preference as to whether or not they like what I say, or the way I say what I say, or they think I'm being disingenuous because I'm performing. He's just on stage, and that's fine. I mean, I don't think you can be wrong for stating a preference, but the idea that, wow, he's able to string sentences together, the fact that he uses vowels and consonants and knows how to narrate a story, the minute that becomes a problem, I don't get that. I don't understand. We wish he wasn't as polished as a speaker as he is, because by communicating something clearly and professionally, he must be what? I don't understand that criticism. I don't get it. I do not get it. But if it's not your bag, totally. Yeah, plenty of channels out there. I do not take it personally. I really don't. Let's see. Is it Victoria at 817?
Yes.
Hi, Victoria. We're talking about ghostly things or something else. What do you want to talk about?
I was just thinking, what's the difference between ghosts and demons?
Well, there are different types of ghosts. And a demon is, I think a demon is a fallen angel. And then the debate becomes, are angels ghosts? And I've never equated those two. When I think ghost, I think a wraith, I think a poltergeist, the actual spirits, usually of the living that passed away and entered the realm of the dead or some second or third plane. But demons I see as fallen angels from heaven, agents of the Dark Lord himself, Beelzebub, Satan. So I see them as different. I don't know. How do you see them?
Oh, yeah, it's like the Christian definition, but it's like, I was thinking about the different definitions from around the world because every culture seems to have a version of demons. And then I was thinking about how I would quickly say, oh, yeah, I don't believe in ghosts. But then there was a time when I authentically believed in demons. And then I was, there's really no difference in this.
I understand. In that context, I get it. Spiritual beings that roam this planet, you can't see them, measure them, or really detect them unless some scenario opens up where they touch your life in a physical way. Demons are said to do that in a sinister way. So in that context, I think you are right. That, in that specific way, I don't think there's any difference between a spirit and a ghost. Yeah, I buy that. I don't know. We'll see what everybody else says.
Yeah, I say that now, but there was a time also when I thought other people who believed in other types of versions of the same thing, I guess, were totally in the wrong, and they were like okay to make fun of in that sense. Because, well, it's hard to explain, but I grew up in a house where we took care of elderly people that would often die within the rooms. So we had some help from, especially Mexico, some other central, there were some other countries too, but they were very superstitious. And what I would do when someone would die, now I was being a complete ass, but when someone would die, one of them, she would go close the door because she told us that the spirit would escape or something. And I thought that was kind of weird because she was a nice lady. What would it matter if she got out? So I would always open the door after she closed it, and I would look around the corner, and her eyes would just get really big, and she would freak out, and she would do something like some ritual, and then she'd go back and close the door. And then I would go open it when she left, but I entertained myself that way. But
you naughty, naughty prankster, you naughty.
Yeah, but I believe like what I was taught about demons though, and I would be totally freaked out by that, but then I would go ahead and do that. Now, if I visit someone else's country, I would be very respectful, and if I visit a mosque, I cover my head, take off my shoes. If I go to a Catholic church in Mexico or whatever, I take my hat off, whatever is the norm there. And I don't know, but here it's harder. I don't know.
Yeah. Oh, well, I like it. Throw some cabinets open, creak some drawers in cabinets and move some stuff around, and then just leave and let somebody else sort of assign agency to it. That's kind of awesome. It's kind of awesome. So appreciate you calling me, Victoria. Anything else?
I still feel guilty about it though.
No, yeah, I wouldn't. It's all in fun. And it makes for a great story. Appreciate you very much. Hang in there, okay?
Thanks.
See you later. Okay. There was someone who posted something that I wanted to address. There it is. All things considered, Said, I wish I wasn't phone shy. I'd love to call in and see Seth's take on adults talking about ghosts. I work with people who think my job's haunted, and I seem like the asshole for not taking it. Well, I would enjoy, like if I worked in a hospital that had an old morgue in the bottom, I'd probably swap stories and go down there and scare myself. I couldn't talk myself into the idea that it was another worldly thing. I think at some point, don't you and I get to the point where we understand so much about the human brain, about the psychology of fear, about pattern seeking, about confirmation bias, and seeing so many ghost tales, so many legends debunked that's even though if we're ramped up and we have a strong heartbeat and we break into a sweat and we feel the fight, flight, or freeze response kick in, our logical mind still knows that this is a response that is explainable and that the explanation for whatever sound we just heard in the corner, Occam's razor says it's probably not someone who was in the freezer and got forgotten, and so his ghost exited the physical form, and then now he roams the halls and he just does shit that ghosts do, which is what they move coffee cups on countertops and they push wheelchairs down hall. Have you ever noticed how mundane and banal the activity of most apparitions, ghosts, spirits, etc. are? Like if I was a ghost and you gave me the opportunity to interact with the physical world, you think I'd be taking portraits on the wall and cocking them at 25 degrees? You think is that what I'm going to use my power for? Are you kidding me? You think I'm going to take a 3-foot section of a basement and make it 20 degrees colder? Is that what I'm going to use my power for? No, Daddy's going to have some fun. Just saying. If I was a spirit, I would like to, first of all, I would like to arrive and give comfort to those who I'd left behind in a palpable way. I'm okay. I'm safe. I live on. Given the fact that there is posthumous existence, I will describe to you what this existence looks like. I will help you solve the mystery, and I will assure you that one day we will see each other again. Until then, live and be happy. I am fine. I would do that. And then I would commit myself and my spiritual resources to jacking up the lives of terrible people. Elon Musk would not be safe. I would screw with that guy's mind. I would rearrange the shit in his life like that. He would think he was going nuts. And we already think he may have some issues. Have you seen the videos where he's high on ketamine and he's sitting at the press conference and he looks like he just got off the tilt-a-whirl? Wow. Oh, Jack. Donald Trump, you're mine. Oh, you're mine. Every password gets changed. Doors will not open when he has to open them at public events. I would cause his pants to fall down while speaking at the UN. He's right there in his skivvies, tighty-whities. Oh, just dumb shit like that, but just jack with his life. And I'd hope that being a spirit, I don't know, would space-time still exist, or would I be able to see what was going to happen before it happened? Because then I could be an agent of prevention for harm done to people on this earth. And I could be like a police officer, an interventionist from the spirit world, and I'd come back and I could actually be like a superhero. All the people who were trying to erase Pride Month. I would have fun. I would be most amused from the spirit world. Amusing myself is not something that is hard to do. I've been told this also by my wife. Seth, you laugh at your own shit all the time. I kind of do. I don't know if anybody else is laughing. I amuse myself. Maybe the bar is low. I've got 757. Thanks for your patience. Who's this?
My name is Alan. How you doing today?
Alan, I am in good spirits, so to speak. What's on your mind?
Oh, you just started talking about old ghost tales and stuff like that. And I was a teenager in a little town just about 20 miles north of Wichita called Newton. We used to get bored a lot when we were teenagers, not a whole lot to do. So we would like search abandoned houses. And we one time came across a sunken graveyard, and we loved going there because it was kind of hard to find. And, you know, we could hang out. But one time we decided to take a Ouija board up there. And we, started getting a little creepy and everything like that. And out of nowhere, one of those headstones fell. Boom.
Wow.
We went through them woods, ripping through woods to get back to our cars, man. It scared every single one of us. But, growing up, of course it scared me at that. But I still don't have that fear or anything like that, because I just think of too many people, like you just were kind of bringing up. Man, there'd be too many people haunting people, whether it be practical jokes or just pure evil, It's just, yeah. So, I mean, now I realize that, that thing probably would have fell whether we were there or not. And it just happened to be we were messing around at the wrong time. And, ooh, yeah, but it scared me for a little while.
What kind of things, I don't mean to put you on the spot, but I will, if you were a ghost and you could come back, what kind of stuff would you be doing?
It really depends. I mean, because there's certain people, like you said, sure, that you'd like, if you could help them out, like help their car keys in the morning and stuff, because that you probably are used to doing that. That might be beneficial.
Yeah.
But,
Oh, that's so good. That's so good.
But like April Fool's Day, I'd still want to do something to know, oh, that son of a gun,
Yeah. That's great. I mean, you're an agent of help and aid in a time of need. Where are my keys? And all of a sudden they levitate and float out from behind the couch. Ding, and you have now served the living from the world of the dead. That's cool. Well, I think, I would love to be in a graveyard when somebody was doing a ghost tour. I would love to be in a scary place. Am I above taking like a small piece of metal I found in the corner and throwing it down the hallway when nobody was looking, and then running to a hiding spot to watch everybody say that it was the ghost of someone who had been executed in the electric chair or something like that? Would I do that? I'm not above it. So I kind of like what you did. That's awesome.
Oh, and absolutely. And it's still like another reason that headstone couldn't have fell is could have been someone, like, oh, this would be a good time to just kind of push this over. It looks like it's about to fall over anyway. So
I mean,
there's enough of us out there. Someone could have had that thought, and now it's telling the other side of the story going, oh, I scared the heck out of all these dudes one time. So.
Now the downside is that we are encouraging people to believe in the things that we're spending the rest of our lives trying to debunk. So I'm trying to get people to realize that there's no evidence for spirits and whatnot. So I guess if I was throwing shit down sanitarium hallways or whatever, that I would be encouraging. Maybe what I was doing was counterproductive. But the prankster in me, and I'm not a prankster in most senses, but in this one I might be, it would be tempting. So I appreciate you sharing your story. Was there anything else you wanted to share with us today?
No, I just pretty much agree with you. It would be, I mean, I kind of understand what you're saying, but it kind of just plays on the whole thing as a general idea of how crazy it is anyway.
Yeah.
And it's kind of fun sometimes to play on that. So
yeah. Hey, you're awesome. It's a great conversation. Thanks for having it with me. We'll see you later.
All right. Thank you. Bye.
Juliet in the chat said, I would haunt so many Sunday services. Tempting. The problem is that we would be reinforcing in the minds of believers in the spiritual that the spiritual was real. But how tempting would that be? Everybody's there. and they're singing their songs. God of wonder, and all of a sudden the cross detaches from the wall and it floats around the room, goes up to the ceiling. The offering plates lift up off of the table and get thrown into the baptismal. You infiltrate the church audio visual system. So as everybody has those sort of, how they do when they do worship songs, they've got the sunset and the field and they've got the clouds and they've got all of these really generic bullshit, ethereal type things with the words underneath, and you just jack with it. Static. And then, vocally over the sound system, it's like, I must find a new host body. I would do that. I would do that. Your pastor is sleeping with the receptionist. Allah is God. Yahweh is dead. Like you could do any number of things. Turn to page 103 in your hymnal. I would do that kind of stuff. What time is it? All right, let's call it a day. You are amazing. I appreciate your patience with me. I've been all over the place today, but it's always fun to hang out. So, anyway, I may release part of this as an audio podcast, a bonus show. You think people would want to listen to it? Not too much of what we did is, I think, limited to the visual. So maybe the audio podcasters would enjoy something extra later on this week. But in the meantime, you are amazing. You keep me going. Hopefully this channel helps to keep you going. And if you see a spirit or a ghost out there and you have tools to properly measure it, if we can get some peer review, have your people call my people and we'll talk. And I'll see